are you?
you?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Are you good to start or do you need a couple minutes?
We can just start. I don't want to keep. I
Okay,
don't want to
it's
push it back.
it's fine if now is not a good time. Um, Thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Actually.
my name is Elizabeth. I'll be your host tonight. We're just gonna start off by doing a little bit of background. I was hoping you could tell me about kind of like a little bit about you, where you're from, and your journey into music.
Sure. Sure. So you want me to jump right into my background
Um,
and how I started, or
yeah, sure. We can start like where are you from?
I'm from the south side of Chicago. I put it in like one of my latest bars, Faux Fee Style, one of the lead singles from my Yelting EP. At the end of the song, I say I'm from the 8363 because my first block that I grew up on was 63rd in Sacramento. And then I grew up on 83rd in Kenwood for pretty much most of my childhood and into my adolescent years and into adulthood until I
And
moved.
what inspired you to start making music and like writing songs?
Well, I always say that ever since, like, whenever I'm asked that question, ever since I could speak, I've just loved to sing. And that joy kind of lended to my gift. And I just always knew that God had given me that gift of my
Mhm.
voice. And, excuse me, and I just love to sing. Like, there's always music, lots of different kinds of music being played in my household. And, just the normal act of singing along to songs. Like, I just felt this immense joy in
Mhm.
that. And that's how I realized I had that gift. And that's just always just been my greatest joy. And so I always just wanted to follow that.
Mhm. I know that you're involved in like spoken word and poetry. Has that like influenced your like kind of like journey into music, or is that something that you picked up like later on?
Picked it up later on, but it absolutely inspired my journey as a rapper, because I'm a singer first and foremost. But spoken word and just writing was also like always kind of my second love. And spoken word is what inspired me to start rapping.
And what age were you when you started like singing and like kind of like knew that you were passionate about music and wanted to make a career out of it?
Really, ever since I could speak, like one of my, I think my very first memory was of either Mariah Carey or Beyonce on stage. So I always knew that that's what I wanted to do. Um, but I didn't really have a channel or a space to hone the discipline of my craft. I just kind of always enjoyed singing along to songs, enjoyed singing along to my favorite theme songs. Like, I'm a Disney, Nickelodeon, like, I'm older Gen Z, so I'm very much a Disney Nickelodeon girly. And like all of those shows, like Hannah Montana, That's So Raven, Cheetah Girls, like singing along to the songs in my favorite TV shows and just my favorite songs was kind of how I was able to sing. And it wasn't until high school that I was able to start training my voice and taking it seriously as a career.
And did you have any like mentors or like inspirations like along the way who kind of encouraged you to like keep going, or was it more so like in yourself that you wanted to pursue a
It
career
was
in
in myself.
music?
It was in myself. I wish I had guidance when I was younger. When I started my career, well, at 17, like I was, I went to the Merit School of Music, which is a music school in Greektown in Chicago, and I was in their vocal jazz ensemble. And my vocal instructor took me under her wing and was giving me vocal lessons. And just like, I remember her telling my parents, like, she needs to pursue a singing career. And so the mentorship kind of came later in life, but I wish I had that mentorship when I was younger.
What advice would you give to someone who is like kind of in your shoes and starting out like their music
Ooh,
career without like any sort of like influences or anything like that?
sorry, can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
What advice would you give to someone else who's like starting out their music career, who's like kind of in your shoes without like a lot of like guidance or anything?
I would say, one second, let me just sit down.
Yeah, take your time.
Okay, would say to just create, um, get on YouTube, find some YouTube. It's like, that's how I started. It might sound really cliche, but get on YouTube, find a blank type beat, try to find a melody, like sing over it, rap over it, whatever thoughts like come to your head, just start from there and then just start creating and start getting used to what it feels like to
Mhm.
create. Um, I start, um, start getting used to what it feels like to create, and then once you have a feel for what that feels like for you, then you can then go in the studio and record what that feels like. That'll be your first record. And then start from there. And then just keep going and just keep
Just keep
creating
going.
like what's in your soul, like what you're going through, what you're experiencing. Um, Write that down, incorporate that in the process of you creating, finding these YouTube beats, and then just go from there. Like, even if you don't
That's
have
great advice.
guidance, you just have to start, put it out there, and then go from there.
I know Everything Style was your first, like your debut album. Can you tell me a little bit about like the process, like your creative process in making this album and like what it meant to you?
So it was everything Fee style because my nickname is Fifi or Fee. Um, but that was really just my first few batches of songs. My first single was Sharon, my second single was Note to Self, and then I hadn't released for like 2 years. And within those 2 years, I was writing songs, so writing about what I was going through, trying to find some of them were beats, the others were like working with producers and creating with those producers. Um, and so just within those 2 years, it was just that first batch of music that I'd ever had, like
Hmm.
really the foundation to my catalog. And I was really just I was going through a lot in my dating life. That was kind of the beginning of my dating life. I was very much a rookie in that
Hmm.
field, and I wanted to write about that. And then just standing in my self worth, kind of finding out what that worth was for me and speaking about that, and just kind of finding who I am and coming into myself as a woman. Because like I'm 26 now. I was like between 20 and 22. Yeah, 20 and 22 when I was writing those songs, and then 22 was when I released it. So
Okay. Do you have like a
it's like a coming
favorite?
of age story.
Hmm. I'm that age right now. I've been listening to Everything Style. I'm a I've been loving it. I've been actually been listening
Really?
to it like all day. Yes. Do you have like a favorite
Yes.
like track on that album, or just like something that really speaks to you?
Definitely EXO. That's forever gonna be my favorite song from that project. I think EXO will stand the test of time for sure. Pray for You would be the other one because even to this day, like Honestly, I was speaking for my higher self, like, and I hope this doesn't change anything for anyone that loves that song, but when I said, and I pray for you, like, that was my higher self speaking. My regular self, I don't I don't feel that way. I usually feel resentful about my
Mm-hmm.
experiences that I've gone through with the past guys, like with the guys in my past. And so that song reminds me to kind of try to let go and release.
And how did your like creative process, I guess, like I like imagine that you learned a lot creating your first album. How did that like process differ when you were creating your EP?
It actually wasn't that much different. Like everything freestyle kind of came together on its own because it was all these different songs that I had made, and that kind of came together around the same time. And Gyaltings is really the same. Like I didn't re I didn't when I started 2024, I didn't think like I'm gonna release Gyaltings and it's gonna
Mm-hmm.
be 5 songs and it's gonna be a crossover project. Like that's not at how I started the year or even how I started the summer. It was just um end of September of
Mm-hmm.
2024. Everything was done except for Single Girl Era. And then I was going through a situation breakup, and my bro Wasan, he's an amazing artist out of California, out of LA. He's another Belizean artist, and he's been doing this crossover fusion for a long time. He's amazing. Y'all should definitely check him out. Um, and he has a single girl era, but single girl era for him was about um his girl is they're together now, so it's really great, a really beautiful love story. But at the time, he was trying to, I don't know if he was trying to get her back or trying to get her, but she was just like, I'm in my single girl era, I'm focused on myself. Like, she was just like, no, she wasn't interested in him or in a relationship with him.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess he wrote about how she was in her single girl era. And that was getting me through because, again, I was going through this situationship breakup. So I felt like I was in my single girl era, but I wanted to write about it from my perspective. Like the situationship breakup was because I wanted a relationship and that guy didn't. So I wanted to have a song be from a woman's perspective, but from the same perspective of this unrequited love position that he was in and that
Mm-hmm.
I was in, but as a woman. And also still a little bit a mix of the original, like, let me focus on myself. Like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
this didn't work out. Let me just focus on me. So it's just like come September, I was going through that and I was like, let me remix the song. He let me remix it. And then when that was done, I was like, wow, I think I have an EP on my hands. And I always knew that my first crossover project would be called Gyaltings because my first playlist where I was listening to reggae, dancehall, punta, like growing up, I wasn't really into my culture for
Mm-hmm.
real. I was into my American culture, what I grew up around. Again, Disney, Nickelodeon, the Y2K pop scene, the R&B scene of the 2000s, like people like Ashanti, people like 3LW, people like A. Marie, Jill Scott. And then with the pop stuff like Nicki Minaj, Paramore. I know Paramore is not purely pop, but like pop punk. But Beyonce, like just that whole era, like I was into American pop culture and the music that I grew up around, like, or the music that I grew up enjoying. And it wasn't my culture's music. That was just what was played in
Mm-hmm.
my household, played at the family functions, and like, yes, that was fun. But was I listening to that on my playlist? No. So my very first playlist after a trip that I took to Belize, and I got put on to like Shansia by some of my cousins, fell in love with her music. And of course, the reggae classics that were always played in the household just kind of hit different like
Hmm.
that. There was a trip to Belize for my 21st birthday, and that trip like changed everything. Like I like something clicked and I was like, wow, like yes. Like
I know that you
yes.
filmed your music video for Sweet Leaf in
Hmm.
Belize. Would you say that's kind of like a fusion of like both parts of like your background? Or like what was that experience like filming that?
It was. It definitely was. And that's why I felt like it was important to shoot that video then. Um, because I knew that I wanted to eventually start releasing music that fused my culture in there, but I hadn't connected that to my artistry yet. So I at least wanted to shoot a video, at least show like how beautiful my country is. Excuse me. I feel like the waterfall aesthetic aligned with Sweet Leaf sonically. So absolutely, yeah.
And I
I yeah, I it's cool. Okay. Um, yeah, I feel like the video aligned with Sweet
mhm,
Leaf sonically, and I just at least wanted to incorporate that vision so at least my listeners could know where I'm coming from, even if it wasn't through the sound yet, because I hadn't figured
mhm.
out the sound. So yeah.
Um, I know that you're a founder of Garifuna Girl Magic. Could you tell me a little bit about that project and like what it means to you?
So Garifuna Girl Magic started because kind of starting in 2017, 2018 era. I've always been on Twitter, but you know how they have like those different sectors of Twitter, like they call it Shea Butter Twitter and Caribbean Twitter, and I was a part of Garifuna Twitter, which was a community, a niche community on Twitter of Garifuna immigrants, Garifuna Americans like myself who are first gen Americans. You know, all of our parents came to the United States either from Belize, Honduras, Guatemala, and all would like make tweets about our culture, about the food, the music, and we all just kind of connected, even to a point where it was like a group chat of us. It was like 22 of us in that group chat. But anyways, I posted a picture of myself with a Queen Key lyric. Shout out to Queen Key, an amazing Chicago rapper. Um, but I posted a picture of myself with a Queen Key lyric, and then I put Garifuna Girl Magic at the end of it. And it was an ode to Black Girl Magic, but it was like Black Girl Magic, but make it Garifuna because Garifuna girls are Black. And like we have our own like culture from our countries, from our family. And it's just like this distinct existence, I guess. And so I was just like, okay, Black Girl Magic, but make it Garifuna. And then a few of the girls saw it and they just took it and ran with it. Like one of these Garifuna creators, she was just like, OMG, we have to flood the TL with that hashtag. And then she started a thread and she was like, I'm gonna start a thread and I'm gonna post Garifuna women, like my Garifuna mutuals inspired by Ifeanyi Elswith. And then ever since, like Garifuna women have been posting themselves, posting their work, promoting their content or just living life and posting about it
Mhm.
and using the hashtag. Um, and it just kind of became this like silent um, movement abroad because even like girls in Honduras, girls in Belize, like they're using the hashtag. And some of those girls like weren't there for where it started on Twitter, you know? So it just became this movement and it became a movement to the point where different Garifuna businesses were like putting Garifuna Girl Magic, the phrase, the hashtag on their products, and um, wanting to make it a leg of their brands. And I was like, okay, well, I have to do something with what I created because people are literally like taking it and running with it. But that's because I didn't create anything around it. Like I just started a hashtag as an ode to Black Girl Magic. And so that's when I decided to start the IG page. And that was right after 2020. So Clubhouse was still a thing. And a few of my mutuals from that community that I had built in 2017, they are passionate about Garifuna activism because in a lot of our home countries, a lot of our like ancestral lands that our family has been on for decades and for a long time are being compromised because corporations are trying to build resorts on their lands. A lot of those ancestral lands are on the coast of these countries, so in front of the ocean. So we were talking about that and just prioritizing Garifuna activism and raising awareness about that. And so that's kind of where Garifuna Girl Magic started. And then I started the IG page just to highlight Garifuna women and culture and Caribbean culture and to unite the Black diaspora, but centering Garifuna people and highlighting Caribbean culture from a Central American perspective. Because I think Central American culture kind of falls under the radar, even when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
Latin culture and Caribbean culture. So just highlighting these movements and different cultures that are not really that popular.
What's it been like since like creating that community? Like, has it been like a like have you had any like takeaways like since like creating that community that like you didn't always have?
Um, yeah, this might sound crazy, but I think I definitely realized like as much as I am passionate about my culture, I think I still need to make sure that I'm more involved in the culture in Chicago. Like I'm very involved when I go home to Belize and stuff, but I need to like bridge that gap here. I also realized like, okay, I'm getting older. I need to learn how to make these foods because I need to be able to cook these foods for my children when I have them because I can't cook not one Garifuna meal. I can cook a Belizean meal, and that's only one meal. So that might sound trivial, but those are two small things that I've taken from it so far. I'm really still figuring out the business model and figuring
Mm-hmm.
out where I want to take it because it's kind of tough in the sense that Garifuna Girl Magic is bigger than me. It's not just Ifeanyi Elswith. It's about the culture and our people and raising awareness about our people because people don't even know we exist. So it's bigger than me. It's not about Ifeanyi
Mm-hmm.
Elswith. However, I'm an independent artist, and that comes with um, an insane amount of work ethic just for the music. And then it comes to branding the music and then the business of the music. And then I'm an independent artist in the sense that I still have a job so that I can fund my career
Mm-hmm.
and my life. So it's been challenging to balance the Ifani Elswith brand and the Garifuna Girl Magic
Mm-hmm.
brand. Um, so that's also what I've learned is that I need to figure out where I want to take it and hopefully meet some people that believe in the mission of raising awareness about our culture so that maybe I can get some extra hands to carry the brand while I focus on my
Mm-hmm.
music.
And would you say that like since starting the Grief and a Girl Magic, like has that kind of like morphed into your music at all? Like have you been able to like reach out to like people through your music who are like Garifuna women who felt like underrepresented?
Definitely, definitely. I mean, that's where Gyaltings came in, the very first
Mm-hmm.
crossover. Like I had never made music that had Belizean sounds, but like come back home, excuse me, my family always supported me, but the music that I was making was not the type of music they would necessarily listen to. But come
Mm-hmm.
back home changed that. Like I remember when I was back home and I don't know what I was asking my cousin, but she was like, "We do not listen to no rap." Maybe at least in that household, because it's different for every Belizean household. But they were just like, "We do not listen to that. Like, we love you, we're proud of you, but that is not what we listen to, what we want to
Mm-hmm.
hear." But when I wrote "Come Back Home," like they were like, "Yeah." Note to self too. They love Note to Self for sure. I think it's like they want to, at least my family, I can only speak for my family, but they want to feel that soul. And so they can relate to Note to Self, even though that's not necessarily what they listen to mostly, but they feel the soul of it. And then Come Back Home is a paranda mix. Paranda is one of the genres of Belize. It's punta and paranda, one of the genres of the Garifuna from Belize.
Mm-hmm.
And paranda is more like the soulful, slower style of music because it's a spiritual type of genre. Like a lot of those songs are spiritual in the sense that they're kind of like prayers, some of them. So when I wrote "Come Back Home" and fused that with R&B, they loved it. They were eating it up. They still love the song. So yeah.
And I know that you're a voting member for the Recording Academy. Can you tell
Hmm.
me about like what it's like what your role is, kind of like as an independent artist, and like kind of like the impact that you hope to have serving
Hmm.
that role?
Yeah. So the Recording Academy was really a blessing that fell into my lap. I had never thought about the Recording Academy. I never really thought about a Grammy until they reached out and they were like, "Hey, you've been recommended. You need to get your membership going." And I was like, "What the hell are you talking about?" And then I thought it was a scam at first too, actually. And then lo and behold, I checked my email and yeah, it just fell into my lap. So whoever recommended me, thank you because that's a blessing. A lot of working music professionals want to be a part of the Recording Academy and put in a lot of work to get those recommendations and be a
Mm-hmm.
part. So the fact that whoever was out there saw my work and decided to recommend me, because it's also apparently a part of the Recording Academy culture to recommend people and not tell them. It's just like, I guess, a blessing or whatever, or just how they do things
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. Um, so yeah, that just kind of opened me up to the possibilities of the music industry and the fact that I get to be a part of the decision for Grammy winners. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's really cool. Like I get to just listen to the bodies of work that are submitted and give my opinion. And then the events are always so impactful, and I learn so much about the industry that I didn't know about when I do get a chance to attend those meetings and meet people that I otherwise probably wouldn't have met. So I just hope to be able to open up doors for other creatives, up and coming creatives like the generation behind me, like the youth right now, like children who are studying music, who are dreaming of
Mm-hmm.
being artists or musicians or whatever. Like, I just hope to be able to also be a mentor. Like, I wish I had a mentor when I was young,
Mm-hmm.
and so I hope to be able to be a mentor for somebody. Of course, I want to get to a certain place where I can act as a mentor and give value, but um, I just hope that I can do that and really open up doors, like especially with Chicago, like a lot like in the scene right now, a lot of us are working to change the infrastructure of the music industry in Chicago and build an infrastructure. And I just hope that I can be a part of that, like similar to how Atlanta and the South built themselves up to be a voice of hip hop, which then made them a voice of the music industry
Mm-hmm.
that wasn't there before, at least in terms of the birth of hip hop, like before, like in the beginning of hip hop, like the South wasn't one of those main voices, but they worked to build that and become that. And so I want to see that happen for Chicago. And hope that my work with the Recording Academy
Hmm.
will allow me to do that.
Do you have any advice, like if you had were able to like go back and speak to your younger self, what advice would you give yourself when you were just starting off?
I would tell her to get serious. Like I was such a lazy child. Like I really, I really did not, even with homework and all, like I didn't care about school. I just cared enough to pass. Like my
Hmm.
passion was always music. It was always singing. So had I had that discipline around music and singing, I think that would have allowed me to like get serious because I really can, even to now, like I have an insane work ethic, but it's because I love music and I love to sing and I love to perform, and I'll never ever get tired of that. I never do get tired of that. Now, the business of it and the discipline of it isn't always so fun, but at the end of the day, I am a vocalist to my soul, and I'm really like a songbird type of spirit. Like I just singing is just how I heal, it's how I communicate with myself. And so it's just such a deep, it's a deep, like fiery desire. And so that allows me to continue to have that work ethic and build that discipline. But I wish that I had realized the discipline part of it when I was young. Like, so I
Hmm.
would tell myself to get serious. I would tell myself to take school seriously because it prepares you for being a working professional and being a businesswoman. Um, they always say that what is it? Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Hmm.
So taking my homework seriously would have just helped me understand the hard work part of it, which I do understand it, but it's still you could have drive and work ethic and not have discipline, and that's kind
Hmm.
of been my journey. That's been my lesson. So I would just tell myself to get serious, and I would tell any young professional out there who wants to build a career in music to take their school work seriously and take their craft seriously from a young age. Like, don't think you have time. Like, no. Because there are artists who have been working professionally since they were children, and they're miles ahead of you. So you can at least have that discipline.
Hmm. And I know you were born and raised in Chicago. Can you tell me a little about how like your experience growing up in the city has inspired your music? And I know you were talking about how you wanted to like incorporate more of that into your music.
Hmm.
So like I was just like wondering like how it's kind of inspired you, like your journey as an artist.
So I will say, like, growing up on the South Side, going to elementary school in West Inglewood, we used to have like these cliques and name them. So, like, me and my best friends in elementary school, we were called Jajil. And then there was us and a few other kids at the time, and some of my cousins. We were this clique called Ambitious Money Gang. And I used to write raps for Jajil and incorporate we called ourselves AMG. It sounds so silly, but I would write raps talking about that and write the raps for Jajil. And at the time, I did not see myself becoming a rapper, or I didn't take it seriously, but that really was the beginning of my journey as a rapper. Um, and then growing up in the city, like going to a performing arts high school and being in a musical theater program, being in a vocal jazz program, all of that inspired the style of which I sing. I think all of that trained me to be like a vocal powerhouse. Um, the training, the classical training that I got in school just made me a better singer. It allows me to tap into different ranges of my voice. And just growing up in a city that's just like gritty. I didn't mean to rhyme right there, but it just gave me this immense drive and determination, especially with greats like Shaka Khan, like Kanye West, like Common, these artists that did make it out of the city before Chicago even, I mean, we still don't have Chicago is a like we're building our scene, but way before now, like now we have social media, now we have streaming, things that like allow the average independent artist to put their work out and to promote their work in a way that they wouldn't have been able to before that. So like artists like Common, Kanye, Shaka Khan, and more, Lupe Fiasco that made their name before all of that, it just inspires me.
Hmm.
And I feel like myself and my friends and a lot of my peers in the Chicago music scene are carrying that legacy. And I just can't wait for us to, have our time.
And my final question is, can you tell me like what ambition means to you?
It just means, and I love Ambitious ENT and being able to work with
Hmm.
Ambitious ENT. Thank you guys. Because I feel like I am so ambitious, like that really aligns with who I am. But what ambition means to me is just having that hustle about yourself, not being afraid to get up out of bed and go put yourself out there. Like even when it comes to commuting, um, putting yourself out there in these rooms where you don't know anybody, and that's really scary. Like, I make that look easy, but it's really
Hmm.
scary and it's really a lot on my nervous system. Like, I think anybody who does it, it's a lot on your nervous system. It's like a lot of emotions that you kind of have to push aside so you can create an opportunity for yourself. They
Hmm.
say where energy goes, where energy flows. Is that the quote? Or energy grows where you put it? I don't know. But like, or maybe let me try one that I better know how to explain. The grass is greener where you water it. So if you're continuing to put yourself out there, even when like you don't know anyone or you don't know exactly how it's gonna go, if it's gonna work out, it's like a risk you're taking on yourself, right? So not being afraid to get up out of bed, go to work, go put yourself out there as well, shake hands, that having that kind of courage is what ambition means to me, and being able to consistently do that, because sometimes you get up, you go put yourself in these rooms where you don't know anyone, and sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes it's like, okay, maybe if you think about it practically, maybe you waste, maybe you could see it as wasting your time, like maybe you wasted your time that day, or maybe you wasted the money you spent to get there, but it's not that. It's putting that energy out into the
Hmm.
universe. So being able to consistently do that, like for as long as you need to get to where you want to go, that's what ambition means to me. And like only people that have ambition are willing to do that over and 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 over until you get to where you want to go. So, yeah,
That was a great answer. Thank you so much. That's so inspiring. Is there
no
anything
problem.
else you'd like to add or anything that like we should look out for from you?
Look out for the Outside Pretty Out Energy music video. It will be coming this year. We're still in the planning stages, so I'm not giving a time, but we're working on that. Expect that. Um, expect more shows. I do have a show. This is like unofficial, but I have a show with Breaking Sound coming up on March 6th. So you guys could look out for that. Um, and just look out for more content. And more music will be coming this year as well. No dates, but more music, PGE, outside video, and the show on March 6th.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I will definitely be streaming your new music.
Yay.
Thank you so much for
Yay.
joining us today.
No, thank you for having me. Thank you for your patience at the beginning,
Oh, it was
too. I
no
appreciate it.
problem at all. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great rest of your night.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Bye,
Thank you so much.
everybody.
Bye, everyone.